So finally, after a year's wait, we get to go back to Middle-earth with Peter Jackson, the dwarves, and Bilbo and Gandalf as they make their way across Middle-earth to reclaim the dwarven homeland of Erebor. Got to see the Desolation of Smaug, to give it its full title, over the weekend. Actually went to see it twice, and I suppose this is my review of that. The movie takes place pretty much straight after the events of An Unexpected Journey. And let me just say first off, this is a better movie than The Hobbit, An Unexpected Journey. Now, I really enjoyed The Hobbit, An Unexpected Journey. There were a lot of critics who said that it was over long, it took, sort of ages to get out of the Shire at the start. That didn't particularly bother me. For me, The Lord of the Rings was my Star Wars. I love any chance to go back to Middle-earth. And I think really that's why they've extended this movie to, a trilogy. What they've done is they've adopted, or they're doing an adaptation of The Hobbit. They're turning it into 3 movies, which doesn't particularly need to be done, I don't think, because the book is quite slim. It's a kid's book, and albeit a fantastic one, they're kind of stretching things out, and they've had to bring stuff in. They've had to introduce new characters, new set pieces, etc., which aren't in the book, to flesh out the story, and I suppose kind of bring it across 3 movies. It's a money thing, there's no two ways about it. They're trying to get as much money as they can, because once the Hobbit trilogy is finished, that's pretty effectively it for our forays into Middle-earth every Christmas. So I can kind of understand that. There's not much problem with that, and I kind of look, as I said, the more I get to go to Middle-earth, the happier I am. One day I'll get to go to New Zealand and actually see it for myself, but until then I'm going to have to make do with Peter Jackson's epic vision of Middle-earth and what The Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit is like. I suppose first off, as I said, this is a better movie than An Unexpected Journey. It's a tighter movie. You've more of a sense of urgency in the movie. The first movie was it took them an hour to get out of the Shire. I liked, while we were in the Shire, I liked the way the background was done, etc. But I can understand people's criticism of it in terms of, people wanted, more action more quickly, and they wanted people to the dwarves and Bilbo to kind of get going and get the hell out of the Shire as quickly as possible. For me, it wasn't a problem, but I can understand why it was for some people. This time around, though, the dwarves are being chased along with Bilbo and Gandalf across Middle-earth by Azog the Defiler after the events of the previous film. I suppose kind of the sense of urgency that's shown is actually shown in the pacing of the film as well, because before long we're at Beorn's house, where we don't spend an awful lot of time, which is a shame in a way, because it's beautifully realised. It's his house and where he is, etc. I think maybe in the extended version there'll be a little bit more there, but we're not given much sort of backstory to Beorn. If you haven't seen or if you haven't read The Hobbit, maybe that might need to be a little fleshed out for you. But very soon we're on our way to Mirkwood, and we meet the spiders of Mirkwood. We meet the elves of Mirkwood, who Beorn says are not as wise as the elves that we met in the original Lord of the Rings trilogy, if you remember, from Lothlorien and Galadriel and Elrond and Arwen, all the other elves. So these guys they're a bit more of a warrior race. They're led by Thranduil, who is the king of Mirkwood, and he's played by Lee Pace. Now, if you take a look at the picture of him here, I actually think, when I look at him, all I can think of is Jason Isaacs as Lucius Malfoy in the Harry Potter series. It's not a bad thing, it's a pretty cool thing, but I can't kind of get away from, I suppose, kind of from the reference there, or from the similarity. We are introduced to 2, I suppose, characters who've been shoehorned into this, which I had reservations about, and I know a lot of people did as well. We've got Tauriel, who's played by Evangeline Lilly, who's this really sort of feisty, hot she-elf who's apparently about 600 years old. She's captain of the guard. She is a warrior elf, and she's sort of lower than, I suppose, the ruling class of the elves, who seem to operate some sort of caste system. She is really badass. She's great with a bow, with knives. We see some of her fighting skills pretty much straight away in one of the first battle scenes with the spiders in Mirkwood. One of the other things which I was a bit worried about at the start was the fact that they were trying to shoehorn Legolas, played by Orlando Bloom, into the film as well. He doesn't appear in The Hobbit, and I was wondering whether this would, be one of those things where you're sort of like, you could have done without this. I'm happy to say, however, the Legolas we see in this film is a bit different to the Legolas we see in The Lord of the Rings. This guy is way more badass. He's amazing with a bow, knives, sword, whatever he has. He's got this look of, you know, anger and I suppose kind of frustration at being sort of, I suppose that's indicative of the fact that he's been, you know, stuck with his father, the King Thranduil of Mirkwood. He's been stuck in Mirkwood for most of his life, and he's never really gone beyond the borders so far as we can tell. So he is he's a warrior, he's a prince, and he is really badass. Following on from this, we come to one of the best scenes of the film. It's the barrel riding scene where the dwarves, with Bilbo's aid, they are put into barrels and they escape down the river on their way to Lake Town. Now this scene is it's fantastic. It's part real, part CGI. And as they're going down the river, they're being chased by orcs, and they're being chased by the wood elves as well. It's a fantastic scene. It's very exciting. The battle is great. The filming of it is pretty good. You get a sort of a first eye experience of what it's like being in one of the barrels. There's a lot of people spitting out water, particularly James Nesbitt and as Beaufort. Moving into Lake Town then, Lake Town is very well realised. It looks really good, and we meet Bard the Bowman, who is distinctly Welsh, and nobody else in the town seems to be Welsh, even though he is based, I suppose he grew up in the town, he lives there, he's got 2 daughters and a son. They all seem to be Welsh, but you know, it's a bit of an odd one, but it looks well. I thought the movie was excellent. The best part, however, was Smaug the dragon. When we get to Erebor, we meet Benedict Cumberbatch. He's motion captured and he does the voice of Smaug the dragon, and it is amazing. The sequence goes on for about half an hour. We see the dwarves battling Smaug under the mountain. It's incredible. It's really fantastic. I loved the movie. It's a much better film. It's a better paced. It's more of a sense of urgency. Go and see it. You'll absolutely love it. I know I did. Hey, sorry to surprise you at the end of the movie, but one thing I completely forgot to talk about. My battery was just dying as I was coming to the end of that, and it was beeping away, so I had to really bring the thing to a close really quickly, so apologies for that. I'm in my bedroom, as you can see. Nice white walls, very boring. But one thing I wanted to talk about was one of the highlights of the movie, as I said at the end of the last thing, was Smaug the dragon. Benedict Cumberbatch is motion captured in relation to this, and he does the voice. It's absolutely brilliant. You wait till you see it. It's the highlight of the movie. It does go on for about half an hour, but it's all the more powerful for it. In conjunction with that, I really need to mention something which I hadn't mentioned during the review that I did in my DVD cave. It is the performance of Martin Freeman as Bilbo Baggins. Now, one of the problems I would have with this movie is that we don't get enough Bilbo. I mean, it is the Hobbit, it's named for him, but we don't get as much as we should. We certainly don't get as much as we did in An Unexpected Journey. Martin Freeman is the best actor by far in relation to this, and his realisation, in particular while during the sequence in Mirkwood, that he is coming under the spell of the ring is, I think it's very well acted. He is very convincing, and I think he's starting to realise sort of the power of the ring and what it kind of entails for him. Watch out for the bit in Mirkwood when he's fighting the spiders and he gets this realisation. It's very, very well done. But I'm going to call it a day there. I just had to add that in while I'm charging up the camera. I feel really embarrassed now that I had to add this in at the end. It looks really weird. But anyway, listen, I hope you enjoyed the review, and I'll catch you later, okay? This is Bill with Filmhook signing out. Okay.